Most welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for remaining with us. My name is Anthony, and I am your host for Financial Markets, and we are looking at the financial markets here in Uganda. Now, before we went into the break, we talked largely about the debt market and how it works. It's a very simple way of working. It's very simple, very risk-free, and you see very many people that are actually interested in this particular market, especially in times like these when we are quite uncertain about the other particular financial markets like the stock markets and derivative markets and commodity markets. We run to the almost risk-free debt market, and I've told you, simple as reaching out to Uganda Securities Exchange, you can be able to trade on these instruments. The other way is through your commercial bank. If you have an account in Stanbic, KCB, and any other licensed commercial bank here in Uganda, all these are able to get you access to these instruments. You just have to request. You just have to be willing to have the spirit of investing for a long-term gain. Now, let's run back to the financial markets of the stocks, looking at the stock market here in Uganda. The stock market in Uganda definitely has, of course, seen various growth. It has seen several growth stages. Looking back in 1997 when the USE was incorporated, and of course by the Capital Markets Authority, licensed in 1998 to trade in securities. The stock market was opened for the very first time. Today we have currently over 18 companies that are listed on the stock exchange, and these are the companies we are looking at, these performances. As we can see, the USE company guaranteed, of course limited by guarantee, without share capital, is the principal stock exchange for Uganda, established as a result of Uganda's government's policy of transforming the country's economy from a public to that of private sector basis. Definitely before 1997, most companies, big companies at least, were owned by government, and we see that trying to change this policy, the government thought of starting a stock exchange where people can buy shares in these companies and be able to trade on various stocks and be able to take stake in some of the government companies that were, of course, owned by government at least by 90% or 100%. Now, the USE offers an organized market where the buyers and sellers of securities are able to meet as dealers and represented, of course, on the stock exchange, and they help them to acquire or sell securities such as equity shares and bonds as an alternative source of investment capital for small and large enterprises. The Uganda Securities Exchange represents a link between the companies with capital needs and public savings to allow invest, and of course allowing these investors to become part owners of the company. When you buy a share, definitely become one of the owners in this particular this is the opportunity that the stock market brought to life. About 2003, the USE launched the USE All Share Index, a marketed average index comprising all the listed stocks on the bourse that, of course, backdates to a best value of over 100. And this particular index is a performance tracker for all the listed S, and there are 18 in number. So if you don't want to look into how each company performed, how which gainers came on top, which losers there, all you have to do is look at the index. Now, like right now, you can see the index went up by 1.81 points. That's a 0.15% increase. But then in 2000, December 31st, of course, that's when we had that particular index start. And then we also have a local companies index, which tracks the performance of domestic equities on the stock exchange. And we are talking about 10 domestically listed companies. The companies that are our own here in Uganda, 10 of them are monitored by the domestic equities market index, which is the local company index, LCI. In July 2015, very interestingly, USE implemented an automated trading system, which is a computerized best trading application set up to automatically buy and sell securities. And this, along with a new central securities depository system, increased liquidity and trade efficiency by reducing settlement time from 5 to 3 days. Now, in 3 days, you can be able to purchase your stock, and in 3 days, you can be able to sell your stock and get back your money. And this is exactly the convenience that USE has been able to bring on board as regards the trading on the stock market. With that brief background, of course, now you understand where we started from, where we are right now. Before 2015, definitely we had what we call a trading floor, where you see stockbrokers going onto the floor trying to trade on behalf of their clients. But right now, everything is entirely online. You can entirely buy your stock with your stockbroker without you physically going to see maybe the Uganda Security Exchange officers and so on. And this is how the market has improved and grown over the period. Now let's look at the market index performance here yesterday. If you look at this graph here, you can see that the markets actually went up yesterday by over 0.81 points, and that's a 1.81 points, and that's a 0.15% increase. And if you can see that, looking at the background there, we can see that the markets actually are not doing that bad in terms of the index. Looking at back then when we had the index go to as high as 116 and then to lows of 1,400 points. And then we have hit our lowest at 1,200, and we are still between the 1,200 and 1,300 mark. And that is, of course, now tracking the performance of all these particular index. When we look at the trading day yesterday we see that we had over 8 gainers who came out on top of the market, and we had over 1 bottom loser, only MTN, who came out at the bottom. Now remember, these particular stock markets prices are determined entirely by demand and supply, but also other factors that could be surrounding these companies. And we see that yesterday, Stanbic Bank, who was a loser by the way, came out on top today at a 4.79% gain. If you remember yesterday when we were beginning the markets, Stanbic was standing at about 20.02 Ugandan shillings. Well, things have changed now. Stanbic came out yesterday on top at the end of the trading day at a 21 shillings price. And then KCB at 1,260.68 came also in the second place there at a 0.62% gain on the market, and followed by East African Breweries Limited as well at 4,551, which is a 0.62%. And then JHL, that is Jubilee Holdings Limited, at actually 0.62% as well gain, came out at 8,023.26. And definitely Equity Bank Limited at 1,444.03 came out at a 0.62% gain as well. NMG finally hit the 600 shillings mark at a 0.62% gain, daily gain, to close the markets at 600.33 Ugandan shillings. MTN Uganda was the only loser. By the way, MTN was also a top gainer yesterday. Looking at yesterday, we are looking at Friday markets. So when I talk about yesterday, I'm looking at the close of the Friday markets. MTN ended as a gainer on Friday, but we see him coming at the bottom on Monday, as you can see here, at a 185 Ugandan shillings closing price, which is a 2.49% decline in prices. And of course, those were the gainers there on the market. And these markets, like I said, are very, very volatile. They change a lot. You see a gainer today and a loser tomorrow. Same company, with the same market capitalization, with the same turnover, but the shifts in performance entirely depend definitely on how the day goes. And definitely this gives you a picture of you being a long-term investor or being a short-term investor. If you are looking into short-term investments, please find your way maybe into treasury bills, find your way into other instruments. But when it comes to the equity market, you might need a little bit more patience. You might need to be patient because this is entirely how the stock markets work. You must be willing to wait at least for some good time for the markets to move in your favor before you can trade. And this definitely is one of the tricks most investors are aware of. If you are investing today in a stock that you might have to wait a little longer for it to go up. And this is exactly where some people miss. And they say stock is going down, so we sell, and that's called a panic sell. And then you do a panic sell, and definitely you lose value for your stock. But if you want to gain value on your stock, hey, you have to wait. You have to be willing to put in the time. You have to be willing to forget about that money for some time until you can say, okay, now this is the time to sell. And of course, the stockbroker will be there for you to help you make the right decisions in that regard as well. Now, looking at the other stock market counters, we had CIPLA, we had British American Tobacco, and we had several others here that were able to do some trading. And you can see that these also were able to, some of them carry out some trade, others didn't carry out any trades. But looking at British American Tobacco, Uganda, at 15,000 Ugandan shillings here, did not trade any volumes and did not have any change in prices as well. And then when you look at Bank of Baroda at 85 Ugandan shillings, came in without any volumes traded, and neither was there any change in prices. Centum Investment Company came in at 322.55 after a gain of 1.98 Ugandan shillings, and that was, of course, leading to that closing price of 322.55. CIPLA, Quality Chemical Industries, at 70 cents, closed with a total volume of 4,500 shares that were traded on the stock. One of the indicators of performance on stock markets is volumes. You must be able to see a company that is able to trade at least on every week, at least once a week. That is a counter you can easily be able to bank on whenever you want to trade. The settlement time is 3 expression came in at 6 shillings without changes in price, and we didn't see any volumes as well traded. And while Nation Media Group came in at 600.33, yesterday Nation Media Group was still among the gainers, and he still came out strong at a 600.33 Ugandan shillings closing price. And then New Vision Printing and Publishing Company came in at 155 without any trading volumes. And then Stanbic Bank at 76,300 shares was a topmost gainer at 0.96 Ugandan shilling gain, closing the day with 21 shillings as the closing price. When we see UCL, Uganda Clays Limited, at exactly 19 cents, we see that there was not much done. There was no trading done actually on that counter. And then Mumeme finally at 200 shillings, traded over 2,100 shares, and it closed the market at 200 shillings. Now, that definitely brings you to the end of those markets, how they were able to trade. Definitely this data is from courtesy of the Uganda Securities Exchange, which is the security exchange mandated to be able to trade in the stocks, to be able to trade in the bonds and so on by the Capital Markets Authority. And this data is as per closing the markets yesterday, not today. So today things could change, and of course the market is open until 1 p.m. That's exactly when we can be able to put together our books and say, okay, who traded this volume, who came out on top, who came out at the bottom. But all in all, if you're to invest in any of these companies, the key is information. The key is being able to have knowledge about the company. The key is being able to understand how these companies are run and how the market prices have been moving for the past couple of days, the past couple of weeks. And you can look at the year-to-date performance. You can look at for example, the monthly performance, the 1 month performance. You can look at the 1 year performance. All these indicate how investable a certain capital, a certain equity is at a particular moment. And if you're able to understand that knowledge very well, you can do the work yourself. But hey, you need a stockbroker to be able to trade on your behalf. But at least with this background, you can be able at least to come up with some ideas for your stockbroker and say, hey, I think I need to invest in the MTN stock, given I've seen it, moving here and there in these recent few months or days. And you can say, I need to trade, I think, in Stanbic because of the pricing, going down or going up. Definitely they will listen to you because the stockbroker is your representative on the market and definitely gives you what you need to understand. And now that, of course, gives us a brief overview of the markets. We're going to go into a short break, and when we return, we'll give you the summary of this trading day, give you exactly what you need to know about at least the top gainer, the topmost gainer, and the bottom loser as well. And we will be right back. Stay with us.